this discussion by talking a little bit about the Golden Gate Bridge. And if you've never seen it, I would urge everyone to go to Google and go to Google Images and just type in Golden Gate Bridge. Google it and look at all the pictures that come up of the Golden Gate Bridge in different weather conditions. Well, like all long bridges, when you look from one end to the other, it seems to call to you and beckons you to take a journey. At night, they light it up in the darkness, and glowing lights in the dark is a scene, is a visual emotioneering, and it gives a feeling of warmth. You know, nighttime can be scary without lights, and but these warm, glowing amber lights in the night are give you warmth and make you feel everything is okay in the world. The next thing is it gets you from one place to another, so it's very functional. The colors at sunset, the glowing lights when they turn on against the deep blue sky, it is really just like a painting. It's very, very beautiful. And the bridge itself is fairly straight with a gentle curve. So from a point of pure geometry, it's got a nice rhythmic combination of straight lines and curves. When the weather is harsh, it stands there strong and stable, and it conquers the windy seas when the water kicks up. Now, people love to hike along the bridge. I think it's about a mile, and I think, what is a mile, about 3 kilometers?
So like 2.5 or something, yeah.
Yeah, so you can have it turns into a multi-sensory experience as the wind blows against your face and you take your hike across the Golden Gate Bridge. From certain angles, when you're coming back into San Francisco, you see all of the lights of San Francisco. You see the in front of you reflected off of the water of the San Francisco Bay, and it looks like a Christmas tree. So it feels like you're driving toward a big Christmas tree, and it gives you a feeling of celebration. When the fog rolls in, you see the towers poked above the clouds, and it looks like they're floating, and it looks almost like it's from another dimension, and it gives you a whole otherworldly perspective. And the other thing is it frames the sky when the sunset is going down and the sun is reflected off the now golden clouds. It turns the sky into your sky. That's now our sky, because you now have a landmark, just not over the water, but a landmark in the air. And a little bit like a book called The Little Prince, if you've ever heard about this book, and this little fox who tells the little prince, well, you've got to learn to tame me. I'm a wild animal, and he has to instruct the little prince how to tame him. Well, the spiritual analogy of taming the fox is to turn what I call living into dwelling. Living, you just are alive. Dwelling is when you make the world your own. And you might say dwelling is emotioneering. And so when you see the sunset sky framed by the pillars and the cables of the Golden Gate Bridge, it's a little bit like taming the fox. Now it's not the sky, it's your sky, your San Francisco sky. Well, my goal in life is to create and to help other creators succeed, because only when they succeed financially and only when they succeed creatively, by getting their work made, their paintings, why help painters, why help writers, why help other people. Only when you help people succeed and their art gets out there can they then do that Navajo healing ceremony on the world by uplifting the world. And if I guess I was going to be known for anything, if someone wrote on my tombstone, he helped a lot of creators, even more than my own writing. I think that's what I would like to be known for. You know, I do have to pack and get to Europe, but I would like just to say this can I just wrap up with a last thought?
Of course, yeah. Go ahead, David.
Okay. Well, one is a little bit self-promotional, and one is promoting the people who are listening. The self-promotional comment is one that this year I've been speaking all over the world. I've been in Ghent in Belgium. I've been in Stavanger in Norway. I was Paris and London. I speak at video game conferences, which we didn't get into. People can go to www.freemangames.com, freemangames.com, or they can Google my book, Creating Emotion in Games, with 500 techniques to make video games emotionally engaging, creating emotion in games. I didn't even get into that. How about that? It's a 500-page book. I didn't even mention it. I think they're almost out of print. They've done 3 printings. I'm not sure. I may have to get a new publisher because I'm not sure if they're going to do a 4th printing. But in any case, it's on Amazon, and freemangames.com is kind of cool. But I speak all over the world in animation conferences. I've been going around the world doing a 2.5-hour talk. Sometimes it's a 1-hour talk called The Secrets of Pixar's Magic, where I analyze the 11 things that all Pixar films have in common. The 11 techniques that they all use. In fact, that's what I'm going to be speaking about in Amsterdam. So people can go, if people are listening and saying, hey, I'm involved in this or that event and I'd like David to come and speak, just email me, davidfreeman11@gmail.com. You can also reach me through any of my websites. It says email David. So I'd love to come and speak in your city or teach on if you want me there. And I love traveling the world and helping people and speaking. I was in Korea recently. I find that creators in Seoul, Korea react just the way that they do in Norway. Isn't that interesting?
That's interesting.
And it is interesting. I found it very interesting. I feel like I'm at home wherever I go. So that's one thing. Check my website, beyondstructure.com, see where I'm going to be next in the world, and at least teaching my large classes. And the last thing I was going to say, which is that there is a war going on. There is a war going on. And the war is between those people who would like to uplift the world and and let people know that they are infinite, and those people who would like to control others, usually secretly. And those are the people who would try to frighten you all the time. Here in America, the newscasters love to frighten people and make them feel sad and frightened and alienated.
Another kind of emotioneering, if you want to put it that way, actually. But go ahead.
You could call it, I guess you'd call it black emotioneering.
That's right.
But if you were just to listen to the news, you would never know there's goodness in the world. But in truth, everywhere you go, you see goodness. Yeah, I think about 20% of the people are making the world a worse place, but that still leaves 80% of the people making the world a great place. That's why I never worry about traveling. Because wherever I go, I know 80% of the people I'm going to meet are going to be great people. There's just, if you're ever depressed, just look around and spot some goodness. And all of a sudden you're going to find, well, who built your refrigerator? Probably a good person. Who painted the walls in your apartment or your home? Probably a good person. Who made your shirt? Probably a good person. There's goodness everywhere. So it's so easy to find goodness. Focus on goodness, and that'll lift you up. But anyway, so be aware of anyone who tells anyone that they are limited, or psychiatrists who say that you don't have a spirit and you're just a body, and therefore you should take drugs, and drugs are the only thing you should do. Drugging people is a very big thing in America right now. It's very sad. Even a lot of children are on drugs. And you've heard about these school shootings. Well, the one thing all these school shootings have in common is that the teenagers in every case are on drugs. Zoloft, Prozac, Ritalin, always. And it's the money. It's all about the money. Follow the money is an American expression if you want to see what's really going on. So, I suppose if a person's schizophrenic and about to kill themselves or kill someone else, a few drugs might be useful. But other than that, I know that your radio station is dedicated to helping people find deeper truths that will help, like those Navajo, help align them with the beauty inside of them and around them. So when you see someone who's trying to tell everyone that they're just a body, or that they're just limited, or that they should be afraid all the time, or fearful, point them out. Say to everybody, hey, here's a villain. Here's an evil person who's trying to bring you down emotionally, and make everyone aware of them. And don't be courageous and call evil what it is, because we don't want these people. Oh, by the way, these people love to attract themselves to artists. And you always hear the story of the manager who runs off with the actor's money, or or friends of mine who are actors who get treated rudely. They might travel for an hour to an audition and wait 3 3 hours for the audition, and they're treated like dirt by the people who audition them. That's not a nice way to treat an actor. So, and then the actor gets discouraged. The person at least could say, wow, you traveled a long way, and we can't use you. You're not quite right for us, but we really appreciate you making the effort, and we wish you all the best in your career. It was such a pleasure to meet you. Why can't they do that? So the bottom line is, we have people who are cruel, secretly cruel, try to undermine artists, and everyone who's creative has met one of these people. Everyone has met one of these people or more, because they know that artists can uplift society. So if they can destroy an artist, they can destroy all the good that artist can do.
Right.
So become aware of this, become sensitive to it, and speak out loudly and say, this is one of those people who everyone has to watch out for. Point them out. I do. I'm not afraid of evil. And evil is not just, Hitler. Evil is not just people who kill students in Tiananmen Square. Evil is usually much more subtle, a person pretending to be helpful who's really bringing people down. So, but that's why we as artists have such an important mission. We creators have such an important mission. And by the way, people might be listening to this and go, well, I'm not an artist, and I guess David Freeman has nothing to offer me. But that's not true. That's not true. Everybody who does anything well is an artist. Let me give you this example. I was talking to an accountant, and he said, what do you do? And I said, well, I'm a writer. He says, that sounds very exciting. You're an artist. And I said, well, I bet you're an artist too. And he goes, no, I'm an accountant. And I said, really? So I said, all accountants are alike. He goes, oh, no. There's good accountants and there's bad accountants. And I go, well, really? He goes, oh, yeah, it takes many years to really be a good accountant. There's a lot to it. And I said, so everybody who spends a couple years at it is a good accountant? And he goes, no. There's a lot more to it. There's some things that you just got to know in your gut. I said, so there's kind of an art to it.
Right.
He goes, oh, yeah, definitely an art to it. So I said, you're an artist? And the look on his face is like, I guess I am an artist. And a person can be an artist in the way they throw a party. A person can be an artist in the way they keep their home. And artists, I know people who have the art of maintaining great friendships. Believe me, that's not an easy art. Right. To have a circle of great friends. So anybody who does anything in a beautiful way, whatever it is, professionally or socially, and who it does it in such a way that anyone would admire them, well, they are an artist. And so one can be an artist of life itself.
Yeah.
So everybody to me is an artist. Anyway, I hope that anyone listening to this feels free to stay in touch with me, davidfreeman11@gmail.com. Check out beyondstructure.com. Create wonderful things, practice your craft, and look at the goodness around you, because it's everywhere. And
absolutely excellent. I mean, thank you so much for your time, David. It's been really interesting to hear about some of these techniques as well, and get a kind of an insight into the world of emotioneering and what works and what doesn't work in most cases anyway, in terms of audiences, art, and even architecture, and tying all those things together for us. So that was very interesting. So thank you again for your time, David.
Yes, and by the way, it is a trademarked word. I had to trademark it, and so put a little TM by it if you use it and reference it to me, because it's sort of like my little word. But what was I going to say? Just to say goodbye. Oh yes, well, it's been nice speaking to you. When I turn my attention away from this discussion, I'm going to turn it to a suitcase. So if I had the choice of speaking to you or your audience, or putting socks in a suitcase, I would rather speak to you. But I'm afraid I'm going to go from the lofty to the prosaic.
Sounds
because
good.
As soon as I'm done with this interview, I'm going to put socks in a suitcase.
Sounds good. Well, have a great trip, David, and a good time over in Amsterdam then.
Yeah, those socks have to go to Amsterdam, so they're going. Those socks are going to have the journey of their lifetime. Okay, thank you so much, and you feel free to stay in touch as well. Bye-bye.